Mint is still $15 a month for premium wireless. And if you haven't made the switch yet, here are 15 reasons why you should. 1, it's $15 a month. 2, seriously, it's $15 a month. 3, no big contracts. 4, I use it. 5, my mom uses it. Are you playing me off? That's what's happening, right? Okay, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, $15 per month equivalent required. New customer offer first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dying time is here. That's right. We're talking about Halloween 3, Season of the Witch on Kill by Kill. Well, greetings and salutations, Internet. It's your old pal, Patrick Hamilton, coming to you once again from Santa Mira, California, by the shore. This is the Kill by Kill podcast, where we're dedicated to celebrating the least discussed component of any horror film, the characters. We're going to unpack all the goriest of details of Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, in the hopes that a local mask distributor's untimely end is just the beginning of the jokes we might make at their expense. And as always, there's only one person I trust to know her man parts from her car parts, the one, the only, Gina Radcliffe. How are you doing today, Gina?
No, don't trust me on that. I don't know anything about car parts.
Neither do I. But I do think they're different than body parts. I think you could identify a spleen and gears of a watch.
I mean, we don't have carburetors, are you trying to say?
Yes. We don't have catalytic converters for the most part. While blood contains copper, we don't really have copper parts so much.
Listen, I saw Airplane. I saw that scene where they took the dipstick out of the guy's mouth.
Right. How many times do you think Connell Cochran is dipsticking his minions?
Oh, he's just doing like spot checks. You know he is. He's a fussy bitch.
He really, really is a fussy bitch. I think that is a very apt description of him in a lot of ways. I think he would be a terrible boss if you're an actual human.
Oh, yeah.
How many of those secretaries do you think in the front office are robots, or are they locals? Like, has he replaced most of the locals with robots? Because he does seem to like have some base units as security and factory workers, but also the locals are a little too happy to, be recorded constantly.
Yeah, no, he's definitely he's a forward thinker. He saw the rise of AI before everybody else did.
Yes.
He understands that the robots don't ask for bonuses.
Yeah.
They don't ask. They don't need days off. They definitely don't need health insurance.
And if something goes wrong, they're more than willing to climb into a late model car and just light their ass on fire.
They will smash a dude's nose right up into his brain if you need them to.
Yes. We need to get into that when we get to it, because I'm not entirely sure what happens there. I mean, I watched it 3 times, but I'm not entirely sure of the mechanics of that man's death. But we'll get to that. Gina, when was the first time you watched Halloween 3?
Oh, I had to have been a kid. I don't think this was a video rental for me. This was a little pre discovering the video store for me. So I must have caught it on cable. And it honestly scared the bejesus out of me.
Yeah. I can think so. Yeah.
I would have been like, I guess this was 82.
Yes.
So yeah, I would have been like 11 or 12 when I first saw it. And, it was not the first time I had seen a child die in a movie, but it was certainly the most unpleasant way I had seen a child die.
Yes.
And I am not particularly comfortable around insects.
Mm-hmm.
So this was very nightmarish for me.
Yeah. And I saw, I think when I started working in video stores, the reputation of this thing was, it's not even worth your time. And then when I did see it, I'm like, there's a lot going on here. I mean, it looks gorgeous. It's really photographed well.
Oh, I love that montage of all the kids going around trick or treating while the sun is going down.
Right.
I think it's both beautifully shot and very creepy.
And, you get to see a lot of different parts of Pasadena cast as places all over the country.
Like Phoenix and
Louisiana. I mean, these are like mere blocks away from where the original Halloween was filmed. There's barely anything different about them. And, then they go to the hills, I think, where they see like the vista of downtown LA. That's kind of up by the observatory. And you can really see what our air quality was in 1982 because that shit is orange.
I was going to say everything is orange.
Everything is orange.
It's not just for the holiday.
No, we were in the Halloween spirit a lot when the sun set. As we learn later in Get Shorty, I hear the fucking reason you have such fucking good sunsets is the fucking smog. So that's what I breathed as a child. No wonder I have lung capacity problems now. All right. Anyways, longtime listeners of the show, particularly those who subscribe to our Patreon, might be wondering, wait a second. You're talking about Halloween 3 on Maine and you did a commentary episode? Yes, we did. We absolutely did. So why are we talking about it now? Well, it's not that we need to reclaim it. This is not some forgotten about movie that no one's attempted to reclaim, how good it is. That rescue of the movie's reputation from the dumpster happened many, many years ago. And new viewers are often aware now that it's not in line with the sort of Myers films and see it as its own unique diversion and a fun treat. It's Season of the Witch, calling Halloween 3, as opposed to Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. So I think the reason to dig into it here, rather than a dedicated Halloween franchise-focused season, is that such a season will probably never happen. I mean, it's why we did the commentary series. I'll say watching 4 and 5 with you was fun enough, but then you get to 6.
Yeah.
Then
and it's diminishing qualities after that. Very rapidly diminishing qualities.
I'm not going to tell you what to like and what not to like, but when we watched H2O, I was aghast at how poor a quality film that is. I mean, it makes Halloween 2018 or whatever that new one came out look like Halloween 1978. It is ungood, overly lit, and poor Jamie Lee Curtis is stuck in an apartment for the vast majority of its under 90 minutes runtime with every light possible on. And
you've got Josh Hartnett, who looks like he pissed off a gardener and ran over his head.
Well, did that haircut on purpose because he was told you can't wear a hat the whole time. And so he's like, well, I'll teach you. I'll make my very attractive face ugly on purpose. And you're like, the fuck is going on here? Like, there's good actors involved in it. It's lackluster. It doesn't really, it does a lot of things that are done better elsewhere. I certainly think the later Halloween rebootable is a better setup. And then you get to that one with, oh God,
Corey.
Yeah. Well, there's that. I feel like there's to do the whole thing would be like a lot of Jason X's in a row for us.
Yeah. And again, a lot of it is just, it's sort of like how you said we're not going to get into the reconsideration of this movie because that has, it has been well covered. Mm-hmm. Everybody, even I've been guilty of, insisting that, we knew this movie was good before everybody else did.
Right.
But like, it's been, we know like the backstory behind it. and we know what happened and how this did not do it. While it did well in the theater, audiences more or less rejected it because it did not feature Michael Myers, et cetera, et cetera. I think certainly, with the Halloween movies, there's nothing new for us to say about them at this point.
I think what they lack, because they have a very strong villain base, right? What I think they lack is the real interest in those minor characters. They're just not drawn as well past 5. I think there's a Friday the 13th like quality to 4 and 5. But at that point, it's just like it's more reactive than anything else. It's just trying to bring it back in the hopes that it'll make money, which is why Friday the 13th came back. But it's just weird enough that we could really dig into those details. And upon our commentary episode, I didn't really find the same thing to be true. There's some interesting characters and performances in there, but it doesn't have that same joie de vivre that I enjoy of Friday the 13th, which is just throwing all sorts of spaghettis at the wall to see what
yeah sticks. And you didn't have like now maybe we'll see that with this Friday the 13th reboot that's we've been threatened with for a while. Right, that we didn't have a whole movie dedicated to Jason's traumatic childhood.
Oh, we'll get that with the TV series too.
Well, yeah, I'm sure we will. Yeah. I mean, I did, what I came away with from our dig into the Halloween movies was, I don't know if appreciation is the right word, a reassessment of the Rob Zombie ones. I didn't care for the first one. Yeah. I thought the first one was almost laughably nihilistic. Like perhaps even more so than Season of the Witch,
but one that is at odds with the plot he's been forced to recreate.
Right, but with the second one, what I found was an interesting angle was being the first in this franchise, and then of course David Gordon Green and Danny McBride sort of picked it up later and then immediately dropped it. The idea of okay, you don't walk away from these things normal.
Yeah.
Like, so you have this final girl, well, it's Laurie, and she's traumatized and does not know how to go back to a normal life. Nobody really knows what to do with her. And I thought that was an interesting aspect that he brought to it. Yes. But that's really like the only thing I really came away from feeling differently about than the first time I'd watched any of these.
Yeah. I think the themes are interesting. I feel like he accomplishes those themes in his the films that he had written that were independent of the Halloween franchise. I feel like he does that better there, and ultimately he's kind of saddled with a property that he loves and can't change in the first one, and then in the 2 he can change but might be falling out of love with a little bit.
Well, it's also,
but it's more interesting because
it's Rob Zombie. He also has to really wedge the white trash angle into it, and it doesn't really work. I mean, whether or not like I'm pretty sure if I recall, it did not have the Michael is related to Laurie thing, correct? No, she was.
No,
she was the
Absolutely
baby.
Was. Yeah,
right. Okay, so but like but it just done. It was like a two great tastes that don't go together.
I think I'll honestly the tastes meld better in 2 simply because he's unmoored from having to recreate the Carpenter version of Halloween 2. So he's not trying to set it in a hospital the entire time. He's not trying to make it a cat and mouse thriller as much. He's more like, all right, we're going to dig into more of the details that I found intriguing that I imbued in the first one and let them blossom and flower a little bit. And I think that's where it sings. But ultimately, like, it's a worthy exercise. I don't know that it does everything that he accomplishes. Certainly, he does better accomplishments once he frees himself from the yoke of Halloween. But the reason I wanted to get into Halloween 3 specifically right now is that this is the most Stephen King coded entry in the entire franchise. Halloween as a concept, while it certainly plays in that sort of something this town is going to hell milieu, this is much more of that sort of King. This town is going to hell, but also there's an ancient witchcraft technology that has gone awry, and that there's a evil corporation at the heart of it. There's all these little elements that you can feel are things that he has played with and will play with that, start to blossom here. I don't think he's necessarily influenced by it. I think it's in the water for people of a certain age. And as a result, if this had been Season of the Witch and had been written in novel form by King, I think you would fucking buy it as absolutely coming from Uncle Steve's mind.
Yeah, and it's certainly the villain's motivation of fuck them kids because Halloween's gotten too commercialized. Feels very Stephen King to me.
But it also feels very Carpenter, because Carpenter has no remorse for killing nostalgia. He just, may have loved that time, but really doesn't have any romance in his heart for it at all. So he does have that element of fuck them kids that makes a lot of his movies really sing in a way that other people are afraid to do, or it's just not in them. And it feels very genuine to him. The way the sort of white trash element feels very genuine to Zombie. Like, you don't feel like this is false or fake. You do feel like he is imbuing it with his own neon drenched remembrance, and he's trying to make it operatic, and he makes it unique to him. Whereas, Carpenter feels in this particular moment that, and Tommy Lee Wallace sort of explained it as, this is a pod movie and not a knife movie. This is very much Invasion of the Body Snatchers, a core text that appeals very close to Stephen King's heart and Carpenter's heart. It's where they meet, even more than Christine. That's a conversation. Where they meet is Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it definitely has more sci-fi elements. Certainly more than the audience would expect, I'm sure.
Yes. And that sort of expectation element, I don't know how much of that is true and how much of that is just what we've all told each other. Because I did start to look around at news articles at the time, and there's the prevailing feeling that audiences are like, this isn't a Michael Myers movie. But also, we just watched the trailer for a thing that we did on Patreon, and it very clearly shows you that this is not a Michael Myers movie. Now,
right. It's not. I mean, I would say that it is more misleading in the sense that there's going to be a witch in it.
Right. Yes. Even though at its core, the beginnings of this movie were Deborah Hill saying, this is about witchcraft with technology. Well, I'm going to merge these two things. You put witches here and you sandwich it with technology. And that's the kind of movie I want to make, which I think is intriguing and I think is ultimately successful in the payoff. And I at one point was pretty convinced maybe just Universal didn't know how to sell it, but they were definitely trying to sell you witchcraft as a part of this.
Yeah, you're absolutely right that other than the fact that it has Halloween and 3 in the title, there's no reason for, there's no hint, suggestion that Michael Myers is going to be in this. And yeah, and again, I think that the, mismarketing, if you want to call that, is overstated. I don't think this was mismarketed.
No, if anything, the marketing that I think led to its failure, and I don't even know that I want to call it a failure, because on Wikipedia, it says that it cost, 4.6, but then everyone in the documentaries that are attached to the Blu-ray are saying it was more like 2.73. And so somewhere in between there, it ends up making a little bit more than 14. So it multiplies. Like, it does fine for what people expected of sequels at the time, which is to make less than the original. It's a race to see if you can collect money out of the coffers before the decreasing returns just make it not worth the effort. And ultimately, I think, the age-old question, should you have just released it as Season of the Witch?
Oh, yeah, obviously that would have solve the problem, I guess. Although
I still don't know if this was something that anybody wanted, but Carpenter was making good ideas and making good movies at the time. But I also feel like the prevailing scope of Universal at this exact moment is we should not have gotten into bed with John Carpenter. Between this and The Thing, this is not what we want to do. He's been given too long of a leash, and we believed in him too much. And then you've got Dino De Laurentiis taking on part of the profits here, and you're just not seeing enough of it.
Right.
So again, the original idea here was if, they're tied to a deal, Carpenter and Deborah Hill, because they agreed to participate with Halloween 2. And they say yes to that, so long as the next movie would be a standalone film. And the goal would be taking the franchise into an evergreen slot of anthology movies where it would just be Halloween, whatever we came up with. And I think Universal at the time is like, yeah, because there's a lot of guys in masks killing people with sharp objects right now. We have to think outside. We have to pivot this into something else. Otherwise, we're just going to get mired in the constant repetition of the same formula that, while it's making money for Paramount with Friday the 13th and will make money for New Line with A Nightmare on Elm Street, it's not so much making anyone else a big franchise beyond that quite yet. There will be other franchises that will be born, but they'll have to somehow reinvent the wheel. And this is Universal's attempt. So, Carpenter and Hill now become shepherds, and they have a bevy of people that they want to work with, that they enjoy their films and think, here's an opportunity to step up and make a studio film with us applying cover for you. We're watching your back. When Universal says, I want you to change this, we're going to go, well, we have final cut, and we say no. So I think that's a good enough thing that Universal kind of whiffed on, which is weird because as a studio, I don't think there's any other studio hungrier for the idea of an American horror anthology than Universal, because they keep fucking making them. Please see our coverage of Nightmares, which we did a segment of where we took individual segments of anthologies. But that is their attempt. Like, that was made for television. And they're like, if we amp up some of these elements, like, here's a horror anthology and, it's already paid for and we'll make money hand over fist. And it doesn't do that well. And then there's Terror in the Isles, which is a version of that, in that they're going to do different kinds of movies and package them in this editorial way. And that kind of loses money. But after The Thing flames out in May of 1982, all of a sudden you're in scared money territory where Universal's just like, all right, listen, Halloween 3, that's going to be its own deal, but we have this property that you're supposed to make next called Firestarter, and we're going to move in a different direction. And I might remind everyone to head just a few episodes back to see how that turned out for them, which honestly, I think is a blessing for Carpenter in disguise.
Right. Absolutely.
Because that gets him to making Christine, and the world is much, much better for it. But the road to Season of the Witch was anything but easy for anyone involved. So even at this point, we're like, wow, this seems fraught. Well, buckle up, everybody. Because the original filmmaker who is slated to helm this project was Jean Rivette and genuine delight on earth, Joe Dante.
I did not know that.
I did not know that going into this. Because when I'm thinking of like what Joe Dante has up his sleeve post The Howling, I'm thinking of a movie we discussed way back when in Animal Attacks April, and that was the original version of Jaws 3 entitled Jaws 3 People Zero.
I'm still sorry that didn't get made.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Progressive loves to help people make smart choices. That's why they offer a tool called Auto Quote Explorer that allows you to compare your Progressive car insurance quote with rates from other companies. So you save time on the research and can enjoy savings when you choose the best rate for you. Give it a try after this episode at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
I'm sorry, but when I hear about the script, it's also not what you want it to be.
Oh,
that's one of those things where, best movies never made have a whole deep dive on Jaws 3 People Zero. And if you have any desire to know about that, it goes into every possible detail, beat by beat through the script. And you'll learn it's fucking weird. It's weird in a way that even Student Bodies does not approach that level of weirdness. It's just on its own fucking wavelength. But we're all sort of saved, quote unquote, from that when Steven Spielberg hears about it and just kills that movie in the crib. But up until that point, Dante had set up a writer that he and Carpenter were absolutely in love with, Nigel Neal. He was a screenwriter of the Quatermass movies, movies I've heard a lot about, and I've watched a couple of them, and they've left me kind of going, did Doctor Who do this better? Because it feels like Doctor Who did this better.
Is that did Richard Chamberlain do one of those or something like that?
No, he did an Indiana Jones ripoff that sounds like Quatermass, but Quatermass is this kind of very sci-fi concept of we found this thing. Bring in Quatermass. He's going to figure out what it is. You know what's a great Quatermass movie? Prince of Darkness.
Well, yes, but
that just has that formula that Carpenter's very much in love with and would like to replicate here. And there's elements of it, undoubtedly. But, Neil's given marching orders by Deborah Hill. As we mentioned earlier, this is witchcraft in the age of technology. And he goes about just cranking it out. And he's got an idea, and it's just writing itself at a certain point, and he turns it in, and guess who immediately doesn't like it?
Dino De Laurentiis.
That's right, the man who make the monkey die and the people cry, Dino fucking De Laurentiis.
The best decision maker in Hollywood.
I
the
feel
genius.
If we have any punching bag on this show left, Craig Wasson didn't do enough to the industry. But I do feel like Dino De Laurentiis is one of these guys who absolutely champions unique filmmakers. And then when they deliver something that's so uniquely them, his first reaction is, I don't like how this is.
Champions great filmmakers and also tells Meryl Streep that she's ugly.
Well, so it's not that Universal was all in love with it all the way around, because the movie has a lot of what Neil originally built into it, right? It does have a lot of creeping dread, but it has almost no action beats to it at all. It's just not constructed the way a modern sci-fi horror flick would be at the time. And it sort of limped to an end. This sort of ends on a high point that, I think would leave some audiences dissatisfied. They don't know the answer at the end of this, But everyone else who watches it are like, I love that I don't know. I love that it just leaves it open. It is such a original ending of Invasion of the Body Snatchers type of tale. The other element that sort of ruffled some feathers is that by many reports, the first scripts seem to contain a lot of anti-Irish sentiment. Which, Neil's a British guy of a certain age. This is at a time where the IRA is, very actively fighting for independence in ways that
you could tell that Conal Cochran absolutely delights in telling everybody how Samhain is actually pronounced. Yeah. because Donald Pleasance in part 2 definitely says Samhain.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, all right, in between sandwiches, it looks like Samhain to me. Whereas in that Cork accent, it just really comes off as Samhain. But, there are touchstones that make it way, that you like about Halloween 3, the mass gags, the use of Stonehenge as a catalyst for a mass spell via technology and television, a strange town filled with secrets. That's all there. But De Laurentiis demanded less ambiguity and more violence and gore. And Neil's like, fuck y'all. You asked me to come to this party. I don't have to stay here. And he immediately jettisons himself out of the project. And that delay then gives Joe Dante his out because he has just been offered to be part of a project that seems like a dream with zero downsides to direct a segment in the new Steven Spielberg produced Twilight Zone movie.
An absolutely perfect shoot. Nothing happened.
Nothing of note happened. It's absolutely not a travesty tragedy that resulted in 3 dead bodies. And
smooth as a cookie sheet.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, and a reputation burnisher that everyone enjoys. So, Carpenter and Hill at this point are kind of like, well, we got to make this thing. We don't want to make it. We certainly don't want to make it with Universal because, they're in the midst of, doing all the post on the thing. So the last thing they want to do is get overly involved in Halloween 3. So they pull in an older collaborator, Tommy Lee Wallace, who worked a number of jobs on previous Carpenter movies, Assault on Precinct 13 and Halloween, just to name a couple. And he was their first choice to direct Halloween 2, but he declined after reading the first version of Carpenter and Hill's script because he didn't think he could actually make a better Michael Myers movie than Carpenter could. And so he's like, I'm sorry, I'm out. And he thought at the time, I might have burned a bridge with John Carpenter. But luckily for him, Carpenter is actually part of the process of making Halloween 2. And he fully appreciated Wallace's honesty. And after that experience, he kind of came to the same conclusion. Hence why Halloween 3 Season of the Witch is going in the anthology direction. So Wallace sort of infuses Neil's script with more violence, robots, and a toned down anti-Irish content by 30%. That's just estimated.
I mean,
there's still some there.
I think the fact that the villain is, some sort of, possibly ageless Celtic
wizard,
Celtic / pagan wizard. Yeah. I think his anti-Irish sentiment enough.
He also probably added more Cheese-wiz, which I think is a good ad. And as a result, he comes up with a script that, kind of satisfies everybody. It is more violent and gory, but not in a super bloody way. It does have some of that, but it's not really going to the lengths that a Friday movie would, or something that's getting, My Bloody Valentine band or Happy Birthday to Me cut to ribbons. So it's, for all intents and purposes, he's the right guy to do it. And then Carpenter kind of ports over everyone he could from the thing on the technical side into this to kind of keep the flow going. And that's part of the reason why The production looks awesome. The cinematography is fucking beautiful. And Wallace knows how to tell this kind of story. And there's no fat on it. It just rolls, baby. From the second it's on, it's going. And it starts with that opening credit sequence, which is the CRT technological TV version of going inside of a jack-o'-lantern that we've seen in Halloween 1 and 2.
Yeah, and I think that right there is like an indicator. It's like, okay, this is going to be something a little different.
Yes. And so at the outset here, the inciting incident is that a shop owner named Harry Grimbridge is on the run. You don't know from whom. It's a guy in a suit. And that guy tries to choke him out in a I don't know, where Christine lives. It looks like where Christine lives. And luckily for Harry, he's able to think of a way out of it, which is to pull a cement block out and get this guy crunched between two cars. And it's like, ouch. But Harry's on the ground, so he doesn't get hurt. But he stumbles into a gas station and sort of whispers with his crushed windpipe, "They're going to kill us all. They're going to kill us all." And that's the opening incident, and it just lights a fire under everyone who finds out about it.
Yes, and you know what? Goddamn, he's right.
Yes. It truly disturbs Dr. Dan Chalice, who is a pretty functional alcoholic. I mean, good for him.
He's a local emergency room doctor and also a raging drunk.
He is drinking all the time. I mean, the joke I like to use is you can kind of tell that alcohol is a priority when you buy a 6-pack in anticipation of driving somewhere.
That's the 80s, baby.
It's like, I've got a road trip. Better buy a 6er in advance because this is a 2-hour drive or whatever. And as soon as he gets there, he's like, well, I could use a drink. You came out of a bar, bought a 6-pack. You haven't stopped drinking once.
Yeah, and the requisite Nancy Kyes / Loomis character is his very soon to be ex-wife.
Yeah,
basically, like, you know, like their relationship at this point is so antagonistic that like he picks up the phone, she immediately just starts cussing him out.
Right, he just is constantly letting her down. I can't imagine that whatever paycheck he's actually porting half of over to her is nearly enough for the hell he is putting her through. And there's no excuse he can give because he's probably given chintzier excuses before then. Well, 2 guys came into the hospital tonight and they're both dead. And I'm really rattled by it. And she's like, you said you'd pick up the kids at 6.
She's like, fuck you. Come get these kids.
Get these kids out of my fucking life.
I mean, I understand that like their son is a weird little vampire boy.
Yes.
Did you know that was him, right? For the Homer from Near Dark.
Right. Who would go on to write The Final Girls, a movie we haven't covered, but should probably cover if we ever do horror comedy Bay again.
Yeah, I mean, if I had a weird little vampire boy in my house, I'd want his father to come take him away for a little while too.
He just has a fun skull, that kid. And it's a fun shape, as my mom used to say about mine. And he's Dr. Dane's terrible fucking dad. And the other thing is this movie takes place over 4 days. He doesn't change clothes once.
Nope.
Like, I get it. You weren't planning on taking a car trip, but you managed time to get a 6-pack.
And yet also, as Tom Atkins did in The Fog, manages to get a hot young broad to fall into bed with him almost instantly. Falling, like, he's like, hey, there's one room, I can get another one. She's like, well, that might be suspicious. And he goes, well,
maybe I sleep in the car then, because that's going to be more comfortable than the floor. And she's like, is that where you want to sleep? And he's like, all right, I am picking up what you're putting down. But also,
and then we see Tom Atkins' butt.
And then you see Tom Atkins. But in between the, I plan on sleeping with you. So keep that in mind. He's like, great plan. Also, Daddy's thirsty.
I mean, I really feel good about sexual congress with someone when they tell me that first they have to get drunk.
And, first off, one of the elements that I really love about their lovemaking, it is set to, I guess they're listening to KAB. Because it's
that
the
light
shittiest jazz you've ever heard if you've never watched the Fog.
It is aphrodisiacal, apparently.
I can't imagine how that would prompt one into having more sex.
When you got that combination of that and some Schlitz, it's party time.
And, for a guy with a lot of potential whiskey dick, then asking him to go back to the point where in between 2 and 3, he's like, hey, you tired at all? Because I love sex, but I may be reaching my limit of sex possible in one night, given the amount of alcohol that I am ingesting. And she's like, I think you better step the fuck up. It also helps that Ellie Grimbridge, the daughter of Harry, dresses like Pinky Tuscadero.
Oh yeah, she's like in a girl gang.
Like, why is she dressed like she's amongst the group from Return of the Living Dead? But she's got great hair volume. She's got fun earrings. She's apparently running around in a lace teddy, or she's just got that all the time ready to go in the trunk. I think she's of the age where she's ready to throw around in bed with a bunch of dudes. And I don't think these two are long for life, but while she has a willing audience, she's going to take advantage of it.
I think that the perfect time to have a fling with someone is while you're investigating your father's horrific murder.
Right. Yes. And so what sets this off is, of course, is Ellie's dad. It comes into the hospital. She's alerted, and before she ever arrives, Harry Grimbridge is murdered in a way, as I alluded to earlier, I don't entirely understand the mechanics of. It looks like, at first, the robot guy, who's Dick Warlock, the guy who did the firewalk in Halloween 2, that's that guy. And he sticks his fingers into his eye sockets and then yanks the rest of his face outward.
I think he just destroys the bones in his face or something. For some reason, I had always Mandela affected as he just but I think I'm actually confusing it with the one doctor in Firestarter.
Oh yeah,
where he just sort of does the whole
karate chop thing.
Karate chopping his nose into
his nose bone into, which is not bone, it's cartilage, but it does the job. You shove it up far enough. You're basically shoving it into a dude's brain.
But yeah, I think it's just sort of like dismantling his face.
Yeah. But he's definitely sticking his fingers into his eyes. There's a whole thing going on there, and it definitely can't be fun. I'm not signing up for it. Spoiler alert for Choose Your Own Deathventure. No. But it also seems like that would be a big ouchie, but I'm not entirely sure a death. But hey, man, I entered my quibble. That's all everyone needs to know about it. And frankly, given some of the deaths that happen here, Harry gets off so fucking easy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't want it, but it's also probably the least awful death here. Other than are we counting robot deaths too or nah?
I have a separate list. I have robots and I have humans because I don't think the robots are getting off easy, other than the fact that they don't have central nervous systems and don't seem to have a problem, as this robot does, just lighten themselves up in a late model 70s car.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say, because I'm already kind of leaning towards that. But if we have to pick a human death.
Yeah, I'm going to read them all off. So when it comes to that, we can decide, because those deaths are final, although there are multiple versions of those robots. And Dick Warlock shows up over and over again throughout the rest of the movie, playing different versions of the same fucking robot. So I guess he saves his unique builds for the townspeople. And spoiler alert, Ellie later on. There is some debate, and I'll bring it up here because why not? How soon Ellie becomes a robot. And I think the answer is pretty plain in the text of the movie. It's when she's fucking kidnapped.
Yeah.
Because although we might joke about Connell Cochran dipsticking those robots a lot, I don't think he's dick stipping those robots. I don't think so. I'm not going to. The man's obviously a genius, but I don't know that he's installing bussies in all of these guys necessarily.
No. I don't think he has any interest in like that regard. I think these are worker bees for him.
Yes. He certainly, when he later looks at Ellie, she like sees her dad's car and she notices this in front of him. And the way he looks at her is like, I'm going to do terrible things to you. He doesn't say it out loud. He says it all with his face. It's a great performance.
Yeah, he does a lot of leering in this.
Yes. He's just instantly giving you vibes that you don't particularly care for, but that everyone puts up with. It's almost as if how rich he is how people react to him, despite all the many, 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 many fucking signs that he's a complete psycho. Something we've never had to deal with in real life, ever.
Of course not. No.
Certainly not currently, or for the last God knows how many fucking years.
Too many.
So, Dr. Dan, after watching what he thinks is a human being, torch themselves in a car, does what anyone would do when he finally gets off a long ER shift. And that is go to a bar and start drinking right before he's supposed to pick up his kids.
Of course. What better time? What better time? Just liquoring up before you take the kids for a ride.
That's right. You're going to be with them all weekend. You got to liquor up in advance. So I guess Ellie asked, hey, where did that doctor go? And everyone in the hospital shouted at the top of their lungs, the bar. And
yeah, I mean, he's been there so often that like he walks in and everybody is like, Dan.
He's practically on the welcome mat. I mean, the bartender probably does not have to ask, what do you want? He just puts down a glass and starts pouring. So she's like, none of this fucking makes sense. What did he say before he died? And he's like, oh, he attempts to lie. And you can see how this is not his best mode. He's not a good liar. And he goes, oh, he said that he loved you. And she's like, get the fuck out of here. And he's like, all right. He said, they're going to kill us all. And he was clutching a fucking Halloween mask. And she's like, I knew it. And you're like, wow, how did you fucking know it? And so she's like, I'm going to go to the Silver Shamrock factory and I'm going to figure out what the fuck went wrong that they tried to kill him, because I'm pretty sure that's what happened. And he's like, well, I'll go along. All I have to do is pawn my 2 children off on my ex-wife, who loves it when I do this all the time.
Who will be completely understanding.
Right. Understanding that this time my crazy ass excuse happens to be real, but also, is Dr. Dan the person you want solving mysteries?
I mean, he certainly seems to be the smartest person in town while also being the drunkest person in town at the same time.
Yes. He's got a bit of the thin man sort of situation, not the actual titular thin man. He's a different character, but the detectives in that movie, the drunker they get, the better at detecting they are. And
right.
so,
yeah. I mean, like, all of his smarts are in, the bottom of the highball glass.
they're all decanted. So he says, yeah, I'll go with you and maybe I'll get lucky along the way. That seemed to work out for me in the fog. And so they show up to Santa Mira, which is the same town that was used in the original invasion of the Body Snatchers. I've been to Santa Mira. I've had a burrito there. It is exactly what it looks like here. There's probably a few more buildings, but that's about it.
So it's like dead and creepy as it is in the movie.
It is weirdly sort of dead and creepy because it's not next to a major highway. It is off the beaten path just enough that if you're going through there, it's because you're on the one and you want to drive along the coast. So you're getting some traffic, but you're not getting traffic. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's been used a bunch. It's used a skosh in the fog. It's used a skosh here and there for other things. But this is what it kind of looks like. And now there's like some fancier houses because people don't care. Like they're like, I'd rather live with this view than have the convenience of having multiple Subway sandwich shops. But the town instantly gives you the creep vibes. There's almost no one who lives there. No one's really milling about. They have a 6 p.m. curfew that's announced by Jamie Lee Curtis.
Oh, is that right? She
plays the voice of Santa Mira. She's on the phone. She announces that it's closing down for it. Like she's a bunch of these different voices. So she's kind of kept in the family here as the through line beyond her mere appearance on the television from a broadcast of the 1978 Halloween. So they get into town and they're like, all right, well, we'll go to this motel room. We'll fuck, obviously. I'll continue to get drunk. And that is where Dr. Dan runs into Charlie. Charlie is a local boy. Good news, Gina, he doesn't have any diseases.
Thank God.
So he can sip directly from the bottle you're sharing, which Dr. Dan has no problem with.
He's like, sure, drink up.
Just like the alcohol will kill all the things that might be transferred. I don't know, man. He's a doctor and I'm not. But Charlie also lives in the same auto rec yard that Christine's cube will go and reside in. And he also has what I thought was a delightful Salt Bay-esque approach to applying Cheese-wiz to a cracker. He does it from a full foot off of the cracker. He likes an aerial approach to Cheese-wiz. But that doesn't last long because he's complained about Colonel Cochran for too long. And I guess for talking with an outsider, he's going to get it. So a couple robots show up and take his head off manually.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's really the future we're facing here, where if you talk about the president, robot goons are going to show up at your house and just rip your head off.
Yes, he would very much like robot goons to police us immediately. That way, it doesn't matter if they show their faces because those are manufactured anyways. This is great. I can't wait to be put on a list. So, hey, I was on that fucking list anyways. So he dies off. Next, we've met some of these people before, but the next death here that we need to talk about is Marge Gutman. She is a distributor of Silver Shamrock mask and is not a fan of their B2B policies so much. She finds them. She can't do it over the mail. She doesn't like to do in person. She's just fucked coming and going. And she wears one of the most shimmery nightgowns we've ever seen on the show.
I love it. I was just thinking about that. You could do a a clever reboot of this and just have it in the MLM industry.
Oh yeah. Yes, absolutely. I feel like this is a premise that hasn't really gotten old. This is a thing that I think you could do and just call it Season of the Witch and not worry about the Halloween component of it. And I think most audiences would get very into how you recontextualize everything that happens here for a modern audience. I think it really fucking works. And this version of it just doesn't have any fat to it. Just whatever questions you have, it mows you over with just like the plot continues. We're not stopping. We're just moving forward. I will just one more note on Marge's very shimmery nightgown. It goes from mid-neck to her toes.
Yeah, it's a Mrs. Roper special.
Seriously, this is something you walk around in. I would find sleeping in it to be laborious, I suppose.
You just wake up in the morning, you're just cocooned in fabric.
Right. Not being able to move your arms. They would just be trapped under miles of fabric. But she also it's a cardinal rule in business. Do not fuck with another man's trademark. But she has found that the mask that she gave her son, the trademark disc on the back of it fell off. And when she finds it again on the floor, she decides to give it a closer look, something she should not have done.
No.
Because she gets a laser to the face.
Yeah, right in the mouth.
Right in the mouth. And she blasts them lips clean off.
Yeah, she gets a Freddie Lounge.
She does. She ever just completely destroyed. And of course, she ends up with a vermin nest in her head as a result. And this is the first that we see that, that does that, but strap in, because it's not the last time we'll encounter the Oogy-Boogy, because this has got the ultimate Oogy-Boogy death in it. I think it has the premier Oogy-Boogy. I think the only thing that really comes close to it is Prince of Darkness. Although, I think people are starting to explore the Oogy-Boogy as a death, and I would like to see more of it out and about, because it really is one of those things that once it crawls into your mind is decidedly gross.
Oh, yeah.
So then we have the Kupfer family. The head is Buddy Kupfer. He's a top salesman. He loves off-the-rack suits paired with white patent leather shoes that even Pee Wee Herman might think, that's a bit much.
They're like the shoes that Cousin Eddie gives to Clark in
oh my God,
National Lampoon's Vacation.
Oh, fucking nailed it from the outside, Radcliffe. God damn. You're absolutely right. Buddy is very much, I think, maybe a distant cousin to Eddie.
Yeah, well,
might be in Eddie's, extended family.
That's the funny thing. Like, there's also just a distaste for salespeople that come out in this, that comes through in this movie, because they're all obnoxious.
It's not just the Irish; it's anyone who deals in distribution.
Yeah, it's sale. Well. We really hate salesmen.
Salesmen are the scum of the earth.
And furthermore, fuck the Irish.
Right. Then the Irish is baked in, but I do feel like there's a decoration on the icing that is salesman. This particular movie feels about salesmen the way the Friday the 13th franchise feels about first responders. They're all inherently bad.
They're just you can't they're irredeemable.
Yes. So Buddy arrives for a factory tour because he is the top salesman with his wife and son. His wife, Betty, I'm going to put this out there, and I would love to hear, Gina, your explanation of this, and our audience, please talk back to us on YouTube, on Spotify, email us, killbykillpod@gmail.com, Blue Sky, Instagram, Threads, wherever the fuck we are. Come Explain this fucking dress that Betty Cooper is wearing. That dress falls somewhere between Victoria's Secret's worst secret and Little Whorehouse on the Prairie. I don't understand it at all as a concept or an execution.
Yeah, I'm actually looking up a picture of it, and yeah, it's very much got a I spend a lot of time reading Barbara Cartland novels at home when I'm not on the road with my husband selling Halloween masks, which I just sort of feel like is not is only a lucrative business about 1 month out of the year.
Right, but I'm sure like they move from Halloween to Christmas to Valentine's to like they're probably all based in seasonal sort of gift shoppy sort of or distribution. Maybe they're selling it to multiple locations. They any shop in the world seems to be selling these fucking masks. So they do need distributor hubs.
She does not. This outfit does not scream husband of wife of a traveling salesman.
No, it does not.
But I did know she's got a really fly like one of those gold nameplate necklaces. Like I think that they've become popular again recently. But I did not notice until I look at a picture of her. I'm like that's pretty stylish. Yeah,
there's the second outfit, which is what she wears to the room where they get oogie boogied.
Yeah, that's more of the from the Blanche Devereaux collection, I think.
Yeah, it looks like she is a hostess in a not particularly successful Mexican restaurant.
Yeah, with a touch of Golden Girls.
Yeah, yes, it's a fancy version of that, but it is essentially a weird salsa inspired outfit. Once she sees little Buddy become a vermin nest, she keels over and like snakes are like, let me get up in there.
Yeah.
let me see what that mouth be doing.
Yeah, I suppose ultimately she's probably got the easiest death. I think she's just drops dead instantly of horror.
Yeah, she either faints and then gets oogie boogied, whereas Buddy is immediately taken to by every snake in the room. They're just like, how can we get our fangs into this guy? He seems juicy.
He looks juicy.
He does. He really does.
He looks like he eats a lot of meatball subs on the road.
But whether she dies of fright or it's been a good run sort of deal, he at least gets, zapped by a bunch of different snakes. But good for her. She said, I do not want that snake on me. Made friends with the snake. And then she's like, yeah, put that snake on me. I love that snake. That snake loves me. Good for her.
It's good to get along with animals.
Yeah. So it's after this. Dr. Dane is actually a witness to this because he's in the control room when it happens. So he is beginning to, take on he's beginning to dig what's happening here. Stonehenge is what's happening here because they've stolen one of the things from Stonehenge, which again, how did they do it? I don't come to Halloween 3 Season of the Witch for realism. I came here for witches who can export part of Stonehenge and chip away at it to put it into Halloween mix.
Put like I guess it would have to be a microscopic sliver of Stonehenge.
Right. Just enough. And you wedge it into that Silver Shamrock disc and then it hears the music and then boom-o bang-o.
And like you count on essentially tormenting children into submission with this jingle to buy these masks.
I mean, the media buy budget that Connell Cochran
God
is fucking insane.
I mean, I will say that he is a rare both a good planner and a poor planner at the same time.
Sure.
Because I think that on a small scale, the plan is good.
Yeah.
Like he was planning on like just killing all the kids in one town. That would make sense.
Right.
But this is like, nope, I'm killing all them fucking kids.
I'm killing as many of them as I can. And this, how close to the sort of Cabbage Patch era are we? Are we just like right on the precipice?
We are on
that?
the precipice of it, but it does seem to want to say, again, very cynically, this is a very, I love it, but it's a very cynical movie, where like children are so easily malleable and marketed to that, you know, you could easily convince them that these frankly kind of ugly masks are like, you know, that this is what all the kids are doing for Halloween. It's like, well, I mean, I'm trying to think back to Halloween of 81, 82. And I'm like, I mean, I think kids were like dressing like Han Solo and shit.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
I mean, not putting like this, you know, funky, like, you know, witch mask on. You know what I mean? Like, I think by that point we were kind of going more for like pop culture related stuff.
Yeah.
And so I think he slightly overestimates how many children would actually buy these masks. But I mean, again, we don't come, he's taking slivers of Stonehenge and putting in these masks. This isn't meant to be realistic.
Right. Yeah. He somehow FedExed himself part of Stonehenge. So again, I'm not coming
Well, you
to
put it that way, it sounds stupid.
In the meantime, when all this is happening, this is when Dr. Dane's good fuck buddy, Teddy, at the local morgue, she is the one who's been tasked with deciding what are people parts and what are car parts. And she just keeps finding car parts. But then she looks at one thing. She's like, does that kind of look like an ear, but made out of metal? And out of like, as soon as she makes this realization and picks up a phone, there's a robot. And it's like, I'm afraid that we need to air out your head with this power drill.
Just drill just happens to be right here.
The whole buying steak dinners thing, this is going to be reflected in another movie that we will cover one day called Sweet 16. That's a slasher that also has a local, investigator who is bribing the local morgue attendant by buying them dinners. And it seems to be code for fucking. Teddy's hot. Teddy's one of our hottest morgue attendants. Let's put it that way. The world is missing a hot morgue attendant when she's taken off this mortal plane. Connell sets up Dr. Dane in a room with a TV that's playing 1978's Halloween, and that's going to air the commercial. He puts a mask on him, and it takes Dr. Dane all of like 2 minutes to wiggle out of the ropes.
Yeah, apparently, like, knot tying was not programmed into the robots.
It's like seat belted to a chair. It's like they use packing materials to attach them to a chair.
Dismantling an elderly man's face. They know how to do tying a knot. Forget it.
Not so much. So he manages, and that's where Connell Cochran enters James Bond villains. That like. No, I'm not going to watch him die. I'm just going to put him in a room and assume that it happens. And you're kind of like, oh, okay. This also influenced, International Man of Mystery a little bit. This is Dr. Evil territory.
Oh, yeah. He gets an all-timer, I'm explaining to you my motivation speech.
Yes.
In fact, I feel like it's underrated how ridiculous this speech is, but how much he's like just really just relishing it.
Yeah. And I also feel like it's this fun thing for this group of people who just presented like, this guy's killing people. And why? I don't know. It's Halloween. That's all you need to know.
Because people forgot how to celebrate Samhain.
Right. So Connell's like, I have a real detailed reason why this is happening. And so I'm just going to go off for a good 3 minutes monologuing, and you'll get the gist by the end of it. And then I'm just going to leave you here and assume everything went to plan. And Dr. Dan manages to Houdini his ass right out of that. Fling a mask over a camera. This man has magic in him somewhere, because that is fucking impossible.
Oh, yeah.
Again, not coming to this for realism. But of course, he breaks out, and in a manner that's akin to the warehouse sequences again of both invasions of the body snatchers up to this point, crawls along the roof line attic-y area of this warehouse and manages to figure out a way to fuck up all of these robots in there, or, inhuman aliens, as it were. He throws a bunch of the trademark discs to the part of Stonehenge, and then he tunes up one of the TVs to play the theme music, and all them robots get zapped to hell. And then Connell Cochran, I think he enters the portal from Phantasm by the looks of it. It's not a Phantasm bed because a bed isn't involved. It's just phantasms around him.
Yeah, I mean, he's got that Celtic magic.
Yes. And he just gets Celtic magicked into a different realm. And so Dr. Dan rescues Ellie and drives away with her. But of course, he's listening to the countdown on the radio. As it gets a little too close, Ellie attacks him in the moving car, and wait for it, Ellie's been replaced by a robot.
Uh-oh. And she is hard to kill.
She is tough to kill. I mean, say what you will about Steven Seagal. This robot lady is hard to kill. This fembot takes a full ass tire iron to the head multiple times before she is taken off the playing board. And then we get the ultimate invasion of the body snatchers, ending with Dr. Dan yelling on the phone to TV stations to take the commercial off the air. Now, I don't think he's talking to these networks in New York. I think he's talking to the local affiliates.
Yes.
But
he's doing a George C. Scott, turn it off.
And it ends on a cliffhanger because he manages to get two of them taken off the air, but the third one still goes. And I'm sure there was some amount of audience at the time who left unsatisfied with not knowing exactly what happened. But to me, that is the enduring.
I love it. I love it.
It's the reason why it's a greater than average movie at the end of this.
Yeah, no, I think it's a very cynical movie in a good way.
In a good way. Let's choose our own deathventure. That's where we decide of the deaths, robot and human, displayed in this movie. You're forced to die in one of those ways. Which one would it choose and why? Let's go through the robots first. Crushed between two cars. Self-emulated inside of a late model car, punched in the guts until it's leaking a rather runny batch of pumpkin pie filling. So they're full of goo and copper parts. Listen, I don't know how these things work. Aggressively lasered in a factory or decapitated with a tire iron. On the human side, you have your orbital bones snapped, eyes pushed back into skull, maybe part of your nose bone too. It doesn't seem fun. Decapitated mid Cheese-wiz and cracker, laser to the mouth, oogie-boogied while in bed. Or you could get cored through the ear with a power drill. You can get oogie-boogied within the mask. You could just pass out from the side of it and get snacked. Or you're still awake when the snakes just start attacking you. And I guess Ellie dies being turned into a robot or being blown up inside that factory. We don't know which. And phantasmed into a different dimension by lasers and Stonehenge. Gina, what say you?
Oh, I'm definitely taking fainting and getting snacked.
Just because the outfit's hot and it's an easy way to go.
Yeah, I mean, I've got my cool little nameplate necklace. Yeah, I'm not feeling that. Yeah, I mean, I see my kid getting oogie-boogied, but again, I'm just like, lights out, good night.
Yeah, I don't think I could take that sight. I definitely am going lasered into a different dimension because he just whites out like he's a transitional death element in Friday the 13th, and then he's just gone.
and you get to have a nice speech,
about
how no one appreciates pagan holidays anymore.
Smart suit. I've got a pretty full head of hair.
You get to be a real particular bitch.
Yeah, just a real prissy bitch who gets driven everywhere by robots. I don't know. Seems okay. As far as I'm concerned. Gina, where can people find you on these here internets?
I write about movies and pop culture and current events and things in general on my newsletter. Gina watches things at ghost.io, and I am on most social medias under Gina Does Things.
Do it today, people. Check it out. You can find us on the socials that I listed earlier. Join our Patreon. Earlier today, I found that our Patreon had risen to over 3,000 people, and then there was just a computer glitch, and now it's fine. But if you would like to help us get to that 3,000 number, I would love it. We offer bonus materials 3 times a month that are pretty fun. So I encourage you to check that out because you can help support us. You can support us by rating and reviewing us on iTunes or the podcatcher of your choice. Talk back to us on Spotify. Join us on YouTube. Subscribe there. And you can also talk back to us. And that pretty much does it. Don't worry, folks. The body count will continue. For myself and for Gina, bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Happy Halloween.
Halloween. Happy Halloween. Silver Shamrock.
It's Tommy Lee Wallace there. They pitched up his voice. That is the most annoying fucking jingle of all time.
Oh, it just digs in your ear.
It's fucking terrible. Love it.